You are walking down the street or doing grocery shopping. You are standing in the shower, the water hitting your back. You are lying awake at 1 a.m., staring at a ceiling you've seen 1,000 times. Your mind is perfectly calm, and then, without warning, it strikes. A memory. It's not a pleasant one. It's that time you tricked in public. The time you said something completely wrong in a meeting. The moment you realized, years later, that you were the only one who didn't understand the joke. Your face gets hot. Your stomach drops. You might even physically wince. It happened 5, 10, maybe 15 years ago. The people involved have likely forgotten it ever happened. You aren't even the same person you were back then. But your brain is still replaying it in high definition. Why? Why does the mind choose to torture us with the past? Most people call this cringe. They blame it on being sensitive or having an overactive imagination. But in the world of evolutionary psychology, this isn't just a mood. It's a specific, highly refined mental system, and it's designed to keep you from ever making the same mistake twice. To understand why your brain keeps the lights on for your most humiliating moments, you have to realize that for an ancient human, status was not a luxury. It was a survival resource. In small hunter-gatherer bands, there was no HR department, no performance review, no way to quietly disappear into a crowd. There were maybe 30, 50, 80 people who saw everything you did, and they talked about it. Anthropologists studying surviving hunter-gatherer societies have found that gossip wasn't just idle chatter. It was a survival mechanism in itself. It was how the group tracked who could be trusted with the hunt, who shared their food fairly, who was reliable in a crisis. Your reputation wasn't an abstract idea. It was currency. And once it was spent, there was no bankruptcy protection, no fresh start in a new town, no changing your username and starting over. Just you, the same 30 faces for the rest of your life. Even a rumor could end a hunting invitation, a share of meat, or an alliance that kept you alive through a hard winter. For 95% of human history, we lived in small, tight-knit groups. You didn't have a resume. You didn't have a legal identity. You had a reputation. If you were seen as untrustworthy, you didn't get the best cuts of meat. If you were seen as incompetent, you weren't chosen for the hunt. If you were seen as a social liability, the group might eventually decide they were safer without you. For an ancient human, social rejection was a death sentence. It meant no protection, no shared food, no allies. So, the brain evolved a specialized social monitoring system. Its job was to constantly scan for behaviors that might lower your standing in the tribe. And the most effective way to ensure a behavior isn't repeated: pain. Just as your brain makes a sharp memory of fire so you never touch it again, it makes a sharp memory of social humiliation so you never repeat that behavior. This is why embarrassing memories are so much more detailed than happy ones. Think about it. Can you remember what you ate for lunch last Tuesday? Probably not. But you can remember exactly what you were wearing the day you embarrassed yourself in the 4th grade. You can remember the tone of voice someone used, the way the room felt, the exact words that made you want to disappear. Try another one. Somewhere right now, there's an old text message you sent that you still think about. Maybe it was too much. Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe you reread it 40 times after you hit send, watching those 3 dots appear and disappear and never come back. Or maybe it's a joke, one you told at a party, into a room that went quiet for just a second too long. You can still feel that second, the way it stretched, the way you kept talking just to fill the silence. Or maybe it's smaller than that, a wave that wasn't returned, a name you forgot in the middle of introducing someone. A laugh that came out wrong, too loud, at the wrong moment. None of this was a tragedy. Nobody was hurt. Nobody remembers most of it but you. And yet your brain filed it away like it mattered more than almost anything else that happened that week. This is what psychologists call self-conscious emotion, and it is a cognitive feature, not a bug. When you experience shame, your brain releases a flood of stress hormones that lock that memory into your hippocampus. It's effectively a warning, danger zone sign being nailed into your brain's map of social behavior. The intensity of the feeling isn't a sign of weakness, it's the signal of the lesson. Your brain is saying, this was a threat to our social survival, remember it, master it, don't do it again. But this raises a frustrating question. Why does it arrive at random? Why does it hit you while you're doing something completely unrelated, like buying groceries or washing your hair? It's because of something called context-dependent retrieval. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for threats. It is a predictive machine, and its primary job is to keep you alive. When you enter a situation, your brain pulls up files from the past to see if you've encountered a similar risk before. You see a person with a similar haircut, you hear a familiar tone of voice, you experience a moment of silence, and your brain pulls up the memory associated with that trigger. It's trying to help you. It's saying, hey, last time we were in a situation like this, we made a mistake. Watch out. The problem is, the modern world is filled with millions of triggers that our ancient brain misinterprets as social threats. An awkward silence in an elevator feels like an awkward silence around the fire. A strange look from a stranger feels like a judgment from the tribe. Someone laughs nearby in public, and for half a second, some old part of you checks if it's about you. A message sits there, marked as read, with no reply, and your brain doesn't process that as "they're busy." It processes it as silence from the group, the exact kind of silence that once meant something had shifted against you. Your brain is doing its job too well. It is finding danger where there is none. And here is the trap almost everyone falls into. When those memories appear, we try to force them away. We get angry at ourselves. We think, "Why am I like this?" But the brain doesn't let go of social threats. It stores them. The goal isn't to stop the memory. The goal is to update it. Neuroscience has shown that memories are not fixed videos. Every time you remember something, you are actually reconstructing it. For a brief window, that memory is malleable. Here's what's actually happening in that window. When you first experienced the embarrassing moment, your brain encoded it along with a specific emotional signature. The shame, the heat in your face, the urge to disappear. That signature gets filed away as part of the memory itself. But neuroscientists have found that every time you pull a memory back into conscious awareness, it doesn't just play back like a video file, it becomes temporarily unstable. For a short window, sometimes just a few hours, your brain has to resave it, and whatever emotional state you're in during that resave gets written back into the file. If you revisit the memory in a state of panic and self-attack, the brain reinforces the same old alarm. But if you can revisit it calmly, almost like reviewing old footage instead of reliving it, the brain has a chance to resave it with a weaker emotional charge. This is why simply avoiding the memory doesn't work. Avoidance never opens the window. The memory never gets the chance to be rewritten. It just sits there, fully charged, waiting. It can be weakened. It can be stripped of its power. Researchers have found that when we stop being afraid of the memory, when we can look at it and say, "I see why you're showing me this, but I am safe now," the memory loses its emotional charge. It stops being a live threat and becomes a piece of history. Think of it as a software update. Your brain is replaying the file because it thinks the software is outdated. It wants you to patch the bug. It wants you to decide right now how you would handle that situation differently today. If you can do that, if you can mentally walk through the moment and realize that you have grown, your brain marks the danger as resolved. You are not cursed with a cringe memory. You are gifted with a survival system that is so committed to your success, it refuses to let you ignore your past. The next time that memory hits, the next time you feel that hot, sharp flush of embarrassment, don't try to push it away. Don't fight the feeling. Acknowledge it. Nod to your brain. Thank it for trying to keep you safe in the tribe. And then do the work. Ask yourself, if I were in that situation today, what would I do? And then visualize the new, stronger version of yourself, because you are no longer in the tall grass, and you are no longer at the mercy of a tribe that might cast you out. You are the architect of your own reputation, and that memory, it isn't a ghost haunting you. It is just an old lesson waiting to be filed away. Your brain is trying to perfect you, and if you understand that, the sting of the past doesn't feel like a punishment anymore. It feels like progress. The echoes of who you were are just the markers of who you have become, and for the first time, you can finally let them be silent.